time to move. It was a funny letter, really. It arrived in the mail early in December. I checked the postmark and the return address. Again, I was curious because I didn't know anyone from there. I opened the letter. Inside was a question, an invitation, a seed planting moment. Would I be interested in applying for the open minister's position at Arthur United Church? Where's Arthur? It's about a 4-line letter. That's honestly, it wasn't a long letter. No real information about the church or the job they wanted me to do, just a question. Now, to be honest, I was fairly happy where I was. Wasn't really interested in going anywhere. Who would want to miss northern Alberta in minus 35-degree weather? But I showed the letter to my wife, Jan. Look what came in the mail today. And she read the letter, and her face burst into a smile. It was amazing. Not because she was smiling, she has a beautiful smile, but all that fall, she had been in a bit of a funk, malaise, unsettled. Couldn't put her finger on it, didn't know why it was, but she just knew something was off. And then it became crystal clear to me when she read the letter. She needed to return closer to home. Ontario was calling. It was time to move. Now, I should say, we were listening to one another today, so this is an interactive sermon. For folks at Dublin, they're going, you never ask us our opinion, but you are today, okay? So, think about this. I'll give you a quick notice. Think about your moves, okay? So, how many of you have moved at least once in your lifetime? Show of hands. Okay. So, everyone put your hands down. Was there anyone who did not put their hand up? Ivy has never moved. Okay. She seemed to know a lot about moving when she haven't done that. That would make sense. How many of you have moved 5 times in your life? Okay. How many of you moved 10 times in your life? Oh, I should be putting my hands up here. Okay. How many of you moved 15 times in your life? And how many of you have moved over 20 times in your life? Wow. That's the person we'll need to ask all the questions to in a minute. Okay, so what are some of the things you learn when you move? I'm looking for answers, and we'll try to hear each other. What have you learned on your moves, whether it's the one move, no moves, or over 20 times? Downsize. You have to leave some things behind. Okay, I thought you moved to bigger houses so you can move more stuff in. Some people do that. Okay, Carrie. Make sure you get your utilities hooked up. Yep, Ivy.
Well, if you move a whole bunch, you find that your least favorite Christmas is if the biggest present under the tree has your name on it.
Oh, okay. Thinking that. Is there more to ask on that? No. Okay, we'll come back. I'm curious more about that. Anyways, we'll leave that for now. So the idea of that. Yeah. Okay. Other things that you've learned when you've been moving? Yep. Ask for help. Yes, that's a big one. Yeah. Anything else? Though back here, you've moved more than 20 times. What have you learned?
That
you learn a lot.
Look into movers, research movers.
Research movers. Don't just hire one, research. Well said. That's a voice of experience there. Anything else that you learned about moving? Yeah, Simon. Some things are going to break. Yes, and don't blame the husband. Okay, some things are going to break. Okay, some folks here? There, and I'll get David in a sec. Once you get there, start to meet your neighbors. Get to know the people who are new in your life. Excellent point. David?
Accept the fact that some things will simply disappear, and you won't find them until the next move.
I don't know if you heard all of that, but he said some things will disappear, but it's a miracle. They reappear the next time you open the box. Okay.
We had that experience, by the way. After 19 years, we found a box that we thought had been lost.
Okay, 19 years. Don't blame the husband. Okay, that's a good theme. Okay. Saya.
You give away some things if you're moving across the country and then you regret them, like books.
Yeah, sometimes we give away things we didn't think we might need, and then we wish we had them. Yeah, Warren.
Research where you're going.
Research where you're going. So you're kind of regretting coming to Guelph? Is that what? Be careful. Hey, it's back here. Someone waved a hand. No? It's okay. Just waving at the flies. Okay. Yeah. What's that? Loss of friends. So you do leave things behind. Loss of friends. Debbie, I'll come back to you in a second. Yeah, Colleen. Yeah, sometimes that's it, isn't it? Building new relationships is hard, and so sometimes we have to be the risk taker. Say, hey, we want to be friends. Thanks, great advice. Yeah, you have a lot to say for someone who's never moved. Okay,
I have 2 parents who have moved a whole bunch.
okay, they're
three
feeding you
si-
stuff? They're feeding you.
And 3 siblings who have moved a whole bunch.
Okay,
Don't get tied down to one place until you know you're truly happy.
don't get tied down to one place until you know you're... That's an excellent piece of advice. Yeah. Wow, they all want to talk now. Dave, you already had a chance. Okay. Make a list. Okay. Back here. Finding a good pizzeria. Okay. Yeah. Mark your boxes. No, I won't go there. I had a story there too. But Debbie, did you have something up here?
You really don't need everything.
You don't really need everything. You know, and sometimes that is the gift of moving, is you realize you can let go of some things in your life, and that's important. Thank you all for your sharing of contributions. Some very thoughtful, some funny as well. And but yeah, it's not easy to move. No one really totally said that, but it's not easy to move. I have Jan is here this morning, and she said to me, "We're not moving for a long time." Our last move finished her off, I think. Anyways, it's not easy to move. My daughter Lauren recently moved to Toronto, and her notice to when her job started and when she was needed to be in Toronto was about 5 days. And so she decided that, well, I'm going to have to figure this out. And so for the first week, she commuted. And after commuting 6 hours a day, she decided that wasn't a very good plan. So she found some temporary housing for a month, and while she looked for someplace longer term. And then you'll all know the answer to this now. Do you know what she took in the short term? Yes, the bare essentials. What fit in a suitcase or in the 1 carload we were willing to make? When you have to move, and move quickly, you take what you need most, even if you do forget a few things, which is normal. You take what you need. It makes me wonder what Mary and Joseph took with them when they fled to Egypt. We figure they took Jesus, of course. Some change of clothes, likely. The gifts from the wise men, or maybe they had to sell some of those gifts. We're not sure. The gold, I'm sure, did come in handy for that time as a refugee. I'm sure they packed some food and water, but they couldn't take too much because they had to move quickly and move soon. No months of preparation, no packing and repacking to see what you can fit in the airline allowed only suitcase. Probably a quick think on transportation. Is that donkey still hanging around? Do we have a cart? Or will it be on foot? Probably whatever was available, whatever you can get on short notice. Likely it was a grab and go. So likely it happened on foot. Maybe they were lucky and had a small cart. We're not told. We don't know. We have to guess. We can guarantee it wasn't a chartered bus, an airline, or Uber. It's time to move, the angel had said. Go quickly. Often we forget this part of the story that Jesus and his parents had to flee to Egypt. They didn't want to go. They didn't ask to go. They ran. This would make Jesus and his parents refugees. Yes, it is only Egypt we are thinking. It's next door. Yes, but it's still a foreign country with different laws and customs and foods. Yes, it is a place where they were the ones who needed to be welcomed or excluded. They may have crossed at the checkpoint, or they may have crossed the border another way. We don't know, only that they were refugees who needed a safe place. Imagine how the story might have gone if they had been turned away. What would the family have done? Make an unsafe raft to cross the water to Turkey? Try to sneak their way around the coastline north? Take on new identities? Have to learn to lie about who they are? It's sometimes easy to say refugees should find another place. But what if you were Jesus? What if they were Jesus and his family, and you knew that death was what awaited them if they were caught or turned back? Could Jesus be waiting at Canada's border? The time to move. It strikes me that today is time to move too. We may be not running towards the border for safety or to save our child, but the new year is just days away, and like a border for us, a crossing into a new time, a new space, a new opportunity. We are given a moment in time to think, what will we take with us into 2020, and what will we leave behind? So, doing multimedia stuff, I looked up some of our current media and thought, what are they saying we should take with us or do in 2020? So, they were talking about visiting places. One was Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. I don't know why that was the first of the list, but if you need to go somewhere this year, Ethiopia was on the top of the list. Or move on with your relationships was another expression of thought, especially if they're not life-giving. Or if you're going to make a resolution, make one that may be different from your usual ones. For example, from Thought Catalog webpage, it said, "We thrive off planning, not doing." What's that about? I got good plans to change. Come on now. We thrive off planning, not doing. So what brings you happiness was the question. Who are you with? Who are you with when you're at your most creative? What city do you keep thinking about when someone asks you where you like to move? And then they said, stop putting your life on hold. And stop putting it on hold for dumb reasons. Okay, now that was their term, not mine. But for things like losing weight or learning to speak another language. That's not really what you want, and you know it. Strong words. But maybe they're right. How truthful are we with ourselves about our future? What do we really need to change? What do we really need to let go of? How can we embrace the new year and its opportunities? So Joseph took Mary and Jesus to God's direction, and trusting God would open the doors needed. So it kind of has me, since we have two congregations together today, wondering where God might be leading Trinity United or Dublin Street United or the United Churches of Guelph in 2020. Could it be more than we've done in the past? Could it be the recovery of some past practices that bring life? Could it be something that we have never tried before? I know, calm down. We've never tried before. But a sense that a door is opening for us to do that. What do we have to let go of? Maybe it's a past hurt or some other misunderstanding or a sense that someone's thinking we're going to close this church or that church or an attitude. What might we have to embrace? God's hopes, what we will do together, maybe build communities based on love and compassion and inclusivity, remembering the big picture while attending to the small acts. See our resources as God's to use. What might we look like, and what might it look like for you as an individual? What letter from God might you need to receive? What you've been waiting to hear? Is it time for you to use your gift, maybe like John did, for music today? Or is now the moment to trust God with your life? You've been trying to do it on your own way. Maybe it's time to let God in there. Or maybe it's a willingness to pray that God could be something real for you. And it's okay to let the past be in the past. A time to move. I can't say what that will look like for each of you. I'm not even sure what it will look like for me completely. But some things that might help as we make our way into this new year. Know that God will be with you. Whether you sense that, whether you know that, our promise is that God will be near. Be willing to know that care will be found along the way. Care will be there for you as you need it. Surprises will crop up. Some will be good, some maybe not as easy, but your path will not be as completely smooth. And likely you'll find that there are, and this will usually come in hindsight, that it was a good place for you to go in the end, especially if you think God is directing you there. For me, I know I'm here today because of a letter I received way back in 1991, and it started with a question: would you consider? What do you think God might be asking you to do on a day when we're thinking about moving? Amen.